right, Herald Times sports editor Chris Corman here in the press box at
And it is a nice press box.
Infocision Stadium. We got the city of Akron behind us. I don't know if you can see it.
Actually, you can.
Appears to be a glare, but it's lovely, we promise.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana with the big win tonight, 38-21.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
You did.
I stopped counting touchdowns after a while.
There was a bunch. There were a few.
Yeah.
More than usual.
A totally different Indiana football team today, I think.
Pretty much, especially after the block punt. I mean, they definitely responded. I mean, Ben Chappell looked pretty awful up until that drive. And then he was on point. It seemed like he needed one or two of those kind of mid-range routes to kind of get him going because he missed badly on some deep throws and then missed badly on some sideline throws.
Seemed to be a little jumpy in the pocket.
Yeah, very jumpy in the pocket.
Bad fundamentals, and he hasn't really hit on a long pass yet this year. And
since the Belcher throw, I think, in the first game against Eastern
Kentucky. In practice, he's the exact opposite player that he's been on Saturdays. He's so solid and really has such a great touch on those passes.
Yeah.
You kind of feel like it's a matter of time before he puts it together. But they found other ways to move the ball today.
Oh, they ran the ball. They ran the ball very well. The numbers don't look that great. Looking back, it was I guess 46 carries for 185 yards. That I was thinking, okay, it looked a little bit more dominant than that. But I mean, they seemed to pick up yards every time they tried to run the ball, more or less. I mean, there was a couple no gainers, but I mean, it seemed like they were consistently getting 3 and 4 and 5 yards.
And the big news there is that the running backs that did it.
Yeah,
the top two carriers were Willis
and Burgess.
So they went to big backs, which Indiana just recent years has just really relied on guys who are going to slip into seams, and now we've been hearing sort of about this fundamental change. We want to run downhill.
Yeah.
Finally, the play calling and the player selection sort of reflected that.
And Willis showed what everybody's been talking about, basically. There was a lot of times where he was stopped and just churned for a couple more.
Right.
And, I mean, he hit the holes hard. He made some nice moves, but, I mean, really, he looked like a pretty complete back today.
I wrote in my column that Willis creates yardage.
Yes.
Indiana running backs have been trying to find yardage for years. And you just notice that difference when you watch him.
Right. And Burgess, I think, was the same way. Burgess ran some people over.
Right.
Basically. I mean, he just bowled some guys over. And it was, both ways for those guys. They were just making yards sometimes when they were there, sometimes when they weren't. And there were a lot of holes today. Basically, I think they were probably, the O-line probably made more happen than I'd seen yet. I mean, they looked good against Western Michigan. They looked better today.
Right. One thing you learn from watching Indiana football for a while, too, is that an offense never looks as good as when the defense is playing well. And this game was totally about Indiana's defense.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially its defensive ends just getting to the quarterback, getting to Matt Rogers, the backup, didn't know he was going to play.
Up until, I think,
Thursday.
Thursday. Was it Thursday? Okay.
And, he was just under pressure all day, and that created the turnovers, gave IU short fields to work with on offense, just really dictated the game.
Well, absolutely. Curlew and Middleton were just all over Rogers. I mean, that just pocket collapsed on him a lot of times. I think Rogers said he was a little bit antsy in the pocket, and there was times where he probably needed to get the ball out a little bit early. But, I mean, he threw a lot of balls under pressure. I think every one that was picked off was, he was hit as he threw, basically. And Austin Thomas was just sitting back there playing center field.
They sailed and they got tipped. And
basically, got knocked around and ended up in Thomas's hands, basically. But they were just all over him. I mean, he could not make a throw to save his life later in the game because they were just all over him. Right. And they swallowed up the run too. I mean, I think they had 4 rushing yards at half, somewhere like that, and they didn't have a lot more by the time it was over. I think they had a 31-yard run while we were on our way down stairs, and they ended up with 100. But they didn't really deserve to have 100 yards. A lot of them.
One disconcerting play for Indiana fans, the block punt today. Apparently, miscommunication. That stuff just can't happen.
No, absolutely.
Indiana's going to win in the Big Ten.
And I think a lot of people, we saw it on the chat today. A lot of people were wondering why they keep doing this rugby-style punt when, Hager can really kick the crap out of the ball. So I'm not,
Are we allowed to say crap on our videos?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, you're the boss.
Yeah, well, keep going.
Okay. Anyway, it's... he really can boot the ball a long way. And
Lynch has called him an NFL punter.
Yeah, and a lot of people were wondering, well, what do you need a gimmick for then if he's that good? Obviously there's ways in which it makes it tougher to return a rugby-style punt, and in some ways it's tougher to block, but blocked it today. So, you wonder, okay, why not just let the guy let his leg loose and, put it in the air
I don't know why they have, apparently Mitchell Evans was sort of supposed to go to the other side, and therefore the guy who blocked it would have followed him. But just punt the ball. Line up and punt the ball. You're playing Akron.
Exactly. Exactly.
You should be able to block.
You should be able to cover it and not be able to, not have too many problems there.
Right. Indiana did improve penalty wise. Didn't get as many penalty. Only 4 penalties.
No pre-snap either. I mean, there was a couple. There was, I think, a dumb late hit call on Curlew, and there was also the delay of game on Fisher that everybody's.
Sort of wondering about.
Because he was really waving everybody else off, but I mean, they still called it.
But all in all, a really solid performance. I mean, about probably heading into the Big House. Indiana's going to the Big House first time since 2005.
Right.
None of the players on this team have ever been to the Big House. You know, probably feel about as good as they could heading into
more
a
or
game
less.
of
I mean,
that
they get
magnitude.
through all of their games without a disaster. Basically, they don't lose to anyone that they're definitively not supposed to lose to.
And this one, you know, it's a convincing win.
Yeah.
They came in and
Yeah.
pushed somebody around on their field.
Yeah, exactly. They looked like a Big Ten team is supposed to look when they play a MAC team. I mean,
Right.
they rolled over Akron, looked, a lot stronger on the lines, seemed to have better athletes and imposed their will, which they hadn't really done yet.
Right. Michigan, I guess the freshman quarterback, Tate Forcier, struggled a little bit today, but Michigan ran the ball all over Eastern Michigan.
Right.
That's going to happen. It's going to be an exciting week, I think, talking to these guys and talking
Yeah.
to Bill Lynch. Beginning of Big Ten season always brings, a little bit of hope with it. And
Right.
we're just going to
It
see.
could say a lot. I mean, you never know. It's tough to say how this one's going to go because
Yeah.
it seems like Michigan's got the talent that Indiana probably doesn't have. But, I mean, Michigan hasn't proved it that much yet, to this point. I think they got to win over Notre Dame. But, who knows what can happen.
Who knows? We'll find out, though.
No, we will.
And we'll be here this week. Press conference Tuesday. We'll have all sorts of coverage. I hope you
Yep.
join us. Thanks. Enjoy
We'll
the
be
rest
back
of the
on
weekend.
next week in Ann Arbor.
Take care.